Hello, my name is Hannah Galantino-Homer. I'm a veterinary scientist with training in veterinary medicine, cell and developmental biology, and theriogenology. I'm thrilled to give you a very brief introduction to a topic near and dear to me, bovine reproduction, particularly reproduction in dairy cattle. By the end of this short talk, you should know a bit about my profession and these topics in bovine reproduction. How do you get bull semen? How do you know when to breed a cow? And how do you know if a cow is pregnant? I hope that I can inspire some of you to learn more about this on your own, although I have included a warning that you proceed with caution since veterinary websites do tend to show images that some may find upsetting. You don't need to have farm animal experience to become a farm animal veterinarian or an animal scientist who studies farm animals. I actually grew up in the suburbs. I never had experience with most of the farm animals shown here, but since college I've worked with marmots in college, and then my PhD thesis was on bovine sperm capacitation, so I worked with bulls. And then my postdoctoral research, I worked with bulls, boars, and billy goats. And then my research since then has been on a hoof disease in horses. So all these studies were cell and molecular studies, a lot of bench work, but it was really important to understand the behavior and physiology of the animals I was working with in order to both work with them and to understand the real world application of the research I was doing. So that's why today's talk is kind of some basics about bovine reproduction. Theriogenology. This word comes from the Greek roots therio, meaning beast or animal, gen for creation or generation, and ology for study of. And theriogenology then is the study of the reproduction of mammals, both male and female. And the veterinary profession, this would be comparable to the human medical specialties of obstetrics and gynecology, fertility, andrology, which is male reproduction, embryology, and neonatology. And these are the organizations in the US, the veterinary organizations that are involved in theriogenology. So how do you get bull semen? Semen collection is done using what we call an artificial vagina, or AV. Semen is typically then diluted in a special buffer called extending and cryopreserved or frozen in straws that are then used for artificial insemination. Animal handling and safety are critical. These are very large animals that can be very dangerous, so you have to make sure that they are properly handled. And if you learn nothing else from today, I want your take home to be to never assume that you are safe around a bull, even if it is lying down or looks very calm. Either a domestic or wild animal, they can change very quickly and hurt you whether or not they have horns. The idea of collecting semen with an artificial vagina or AV is to have the bull breed the AV instead of the animal he is mounting. I mentioned happy sperm here. So what we're talking about here is a little cartoon of a happy bull sperm, but what they actually look like is shown here. You want to get your sample without damaging the sperm so that they will be fertile when you use them for insemination. Bull handling is important, as I mentioned. This is showing how the rope from the halter is run through the nose ring of the bull, and the breeding shed here is set up so that the animal handlers can wrap that rope around these poles to slow the bull down. The person with the AV, in this case me several years ago, I'm standing back here where I can duck behind these poles if I need to for safety. So what happens during a bull semen collection? One thing to keep in mind, the bull also wants to remain safe and avoid injury. He's kind of vulnerable when he's mounting an animal. He wants to make sure the cow or the steer or another bull, because they'll mount any of those, will stand before mounting. So he's going to test that animal by doing things like resting his chin on its rump, which is shown here. He may lick. They do a lot of that. This bull is showing the Flamen response. You can see how the ring is sort of flipped up. He's got his upper lip flipped up. And the purpose of that is to push air into the vomer nasal organ inside the nose, which can detect pheromones. And then he's going to mount when he thinks it's safe. I have to wait back here because you don't want to get hit with the feet. And then step in, deflect the penis into the artificial vagina here, and the bull will thrust maybe once or twice, and you have a sample. This is from the front. My left hand here is deflecting, and the right hand's holding the AV, and ejaculate is going to go into this little tube here. This whole process is really fast. It's even faster with billy goats.
That was it. Yeah.
There you go. That's all that happens. The AV here is, oops. There we go. Outer tube with a latex liner and hot water in between to simulate breeding, and then a collection tube. You have bull semen and you want to breed your cow, but you have to breed your cow when it is in estrus or in heat. This means they're near the ovulation phase of the estrus cycle. They have a follicle in their ovary producing estrogen, getting ready to ovulate. The dominant hormone from that follicle is estrogen, and that's going to control the cow's behavior. So you can see here a cow standing to be mounted. So that is the definitive behavior of estrus in cows, just standing and not walking away. So they're standing to be mounted by either a bull or a cow. This one's a bull, this one's a cow. This cow doesn't care. They're going to stand for whatever animal's willing to mount them. And that's a feature of cows and bulls, that they are bisexual. They will interact with both sexes. So the problem with detecting estrus by observation is it's labor intensive, you can miss it doesn't take that long for a cow to get mounted. So there are some aids in detecting cows in estrus. Marking methods is heat mount detector. So there's this little thing stuck on the cow's rump that has a thin film on top, and if that cow gets mounted, it rubs off that film or it pushes out some dye, and that makes color that you can easily see and mark that cow as in estrus. You can also do this by painting this area with an oil-based paint, and then after it's dry, putting some chalk on top in a different color that gets rubbed off, and then you can see that cow is in estrus. Another method is to use a teaser bull. This is a bull that's not able to breed the cows but will mount them. And they put this little device on his chin, has a ball valve in it with some paint there, and he's going to mark cows. This is one that's been marked up quite a bit. She says, "Breed me." So how do you know if your cow is pregnant after you've bred it? So the cow is bred either natural or artificial insemination, in IVF, embryo transfer, all those things, all those procedures were developed in cows before people. And the pregnancy has to be confirmed in order to properly manage that cow. So the most common way would be transrectal palpation. You can detect pregnancy at 30 days and after. And so the veterinarian is using, we use our hands as our tools. We can detect the fetal membranes, the amniotic vesicle containing a fetus, the fetus itself, depending on the size, placentomes, which are thickened areas where the maternal and fetal components of the placenta are having nutrient exchanged. And then changes in the uterine arterial pulse are also palpable. Ultrasound is very commonly used. You can detect pregnancy even at 26 days. You can detect, measure, you do measure to give you an age, fetal sexing from 60 to 120 days. The ultrasound units have to be portable and okay with getting dirty. There's some cool visor systems that people are using as well so that they have their hands free and can use them in variable lighting. So ultrasonography is used both in pregnancy diagnosis and in estrus detection. This cartoon here is showing the placement of the transrectal ultrasound probe imaging the uterus and the ovary. Ovary's right here. And if you're doing estrus detection and you looked at that ovary, here's an ovary on ultrasound, and this black space is a fluid-filled follicle that's ready to ovulate. In a early 26 days, you could detect, in this case, twin embryos, these little lumps here inside their amniotic vesicles. The transrectal palpation and ultrasound can be used to determine the age of the fetus. This is showing how the measurements of your hand can be used then to refer to what you're feeling, to look at things like fetal head size or the size of the amniotic vesicle. And there's set sizes that match different days of pregnancy. And later in pregnancy, the fetus gets too big to really feel because it kind of falls into the abdomen. And you can actually put your fist against the side of the cow and push. You're not hurting the cow or the fetus, but you can push and then leave your fist and feel the side of the cow, feel if something hard bumps into it, and that's the fetus. When the fetus gets bigger, closer to parturition, you can then feel its head again, and you can check to make sure that that's a live calf. All right, so the take-home messages today, I hope, are that you learned what theriogenology is, animal reproduction, and it's a veterinary field, that you saw how we collect bull semen using an artificial vagina, that cows in estrus will stand to be mounted by cows or bulls and are close to ovulation at that stage. So when you're driving out in the country, you might actually see this happen and know what it is now. And then that pregnancy is diagnosed by transrectal palpation and ultrasonography. This last slide has more information and websites on bovine reproduction, again with the warning that these are veterinary sites and they will have pictures of body parts and surgery and dead fetuses and embryos, so to be warned about that. But I wanted to thank you for your attention, and I hope that you learned something today. Bye-bye.